My name is Neha Sami. I'm one of the faculty here at IHS. I also am sort of the peak point person in the project, sort of representing IHS. My research is focused around questions of infrastructure and governance, and I think it's one of the few projects in the peak consortium that isn't looking just at the city scale, but is looking at city and regional types of questions. So we're looking at infrastructure corridors that are emerging in and around Indian cities, connecting the city specifically to the larger urban region, and also exploring questions of how they're built, by whom, and what the politics of that process is. And we're also connecting that back to the changing infrastructure profile within the city as well. So it's kind of looking at it at scale, but also across scale. I think one of the biggest things about the work that I'm doing as part of Peak, and it's just not me, there's a larger team of us, about 4 or 5 of us working on these questions, is to sort of put forward why these kinds of projects emerge, whether they in themselves are sustainable financially, environmentally, economically, what they bring to cities and regions, but to also think of larger kind of environmental consequences of large infrastructure projects being built and put down, what it means in terms of economic development for cities, and to also locate them in a larger conversation about this kind of infrastructure development, because this is not the first time these kinds of projects are being built. So it also gives us, what we're hoping to do is also give us as urbanists and people who work on cities and think about them, a kind of longer trajectory in which to situate these kinds of mega infrastructure projects. Because the Indian example is not the only one. You're seeing these kinds of projects emerging in China. They're coming up in a lot of African countries. And some of these are even more challenging than in the Indian case, because they're also crossing national boundaries, and in some cases over land and sea as well. So we're hoping that the work that we do out of this will help kind of further this understanding of how these projects are built, by whom they're built, and whether they're actually really necessary, not just kind of in the instrumental sense, but also more kind of broadly thinking about them as sort of metaphors for different types of development paradigms.